What's up? This is Garda Trace. It has been a year since Akira Toriyama died. Although it doesn't feel like a year has passed. It feels like only yesterday we received the news he was gone. Within this time, Dragon Ball DAIMA, which was released to commemorate the 40th anniversary of Dragon Ball, has come and gone. However, it proved to be a rather controversial series from the moment it was announced. It might have something to do with the fact that many Dragon Ball fans might share the same sentiment as this annoying prick.
The fuck is this? Look at these animations! It's magic! No! Oh my god! No! 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 Don't give us this! We don't want this! Nobody asked for this! We just wanted Moro!
Yeah, a lot of fans are simply disappointed that this isn't a Season 2 for Dragon Ball Super. Those fans want the likes of Moro, Granola, Gas, and Black Frieza to be brought to animation. Personally, I don't give a flying fuck to ever see any of those characters or post-universe survival arc material animated, and I definitely don't want more Dragon Ball Super, as that series is a complete dumpster fire. I was happy when the anime ended in 2018, and I hope it stays the fuck dead. Dragon Ball DAIMA promised to be something different from Dragon Ball Super, but from that initial trailer, it became known as Dragon Ball GT 2.0, as it features Goku turned into a kid again, but not just him this time, but all of his friends and family have been turned into kids. The comparison to GT is warranted, and we'll see how much so as the series goes on. I defend a lot of things about Dragon Ball GT, but one thing I don't defend is Goku being turned into a kid. I thought it was stupid then, I think it's stupid now. Even stupider now since everyone is turned into kids. However, I was intrigued by DAIMA promoting itself as an adventure series, calling back to Dragon Ball's early days, but GT did that too, and quickly abandoned that premise due to the creators lacking confidence in it, and shifted back to being more like the Z material. DAIMA doesn't chicken out on being an adventure, but how well does it pull it off? Is DAIMA a certified gem, a complete dumpster fire, or somewhere in between? Let's find out as I give my 2 cents on it. This series is 20 episodes long, making it by far the shortest Dragon Ball series, as it's not even half as long as GT. Here's my 2 cents on the first episode of Dragon Ball DAIMA. I'm gonna start off on a positive note. This is the best modern Dragon Ball has ever looked. Ever. When it comes to the art style,
it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
Dragon Ball has struggled with the transition from cell animation to digital animation, as for the longest time, it had this glossy, made of plastic look to it that was straight up butt ugly. This was especially the case for Dragon Ball Super's early days, which looked so shitty even Toriyama complained about it. It did get better later on, but it was quite a journey to get there, and it still wasn't the best look. Then Dragon Ball Super Broly came along with a new art style from Naohiro Shintani, and it looked really good, except when it didn't. Even though when it looked good, it looked really good, it wasn't a look I thought best suited Dragon Ball. Then Superhero went 3D. Please don't ever go 3D again. It had 2D segments that actually looked better than Broly and would have been the perfect look for the movie, but alas, that's not what we got. But this art style for DAIMA hits the nail on the head, like Frieza did. It's even going for a more manga accurate look. Piccolo's sash is blue in the anime, but red in the manga, and it's red here. Kuririn's eyes have flesh-toned sclera in the anime like a Scooby-Doo character, but they're white in the manga, and they're white here. The anime did originally give him white sclera, but quickly dropped it for flesh-toned ones for some reason. Sheen also has his manga-accurate colors here. Majin Boo's hands are given more humanoid fingers in the anime, but the only time he has had humanoid fingers in the manga is when he absorbs Gotenks. Normally, his hands are more like a catcher's mitt in the manga, which is reflected in Daima. Piccolo still has 5 fingers on each hand as opposed to 4. Something Yakuza, although I don't know how true that claim actually is. But this art style is awesome. They show how the characters look over the ages up to right now in poses taken straight from the manga, and they all look great. And this style animates well with characters looking more lively than they have in decades, plus their colors and shading look much more natural. Long gone are those stiff-looking character models based on those reference sheets from Tadayoshi Yamamuro. They really pulled out all the stops with this one, and definitely aren't repeating the mistakes of Dragon Ball Super, which was rushed out the door in order to capitalize on the success of Resurrection F. They took their time with this, and it shows. Just throwing this out there, if they were to remake an adaptation of Dragon Ball's manga in this style, I'd be all for it. But be sure to include all of the pre-Saiyan Arc material. Dragon Ball does not start at the Saiyan Arc, and those earlier parts of the series deserve more credit and respect, especially among Westerners. But while I think a remake of Dragon Ball in this style would be good, whether I'd actually want a remake of it is another story entirely. But enough about the art and animation, let's get into the content of the first episode. Episode 1 is titled Conspiracy. The first 2 minutes are a brief overview of the series, explaining the Dragon Balls, Goku and his origins, the friends he made along the way, and the villains he faced. There's a moment where the narrator mentions how Saiyans maintain their youth for most of their lives, and this is a weird thing to bring up because it's not like that's relevant or even apparent for most of the series. The only time Saiyans maintaining their youth is relevant in the original run of the series is in the epilogue, where Goku notices how old Bulma has gotten, but Goku and Vegeta hadn't aged a day, and Vegeta explains why. So this is random as hell. Why did they bother bringing that up here? Then we are introduced to the Demon Realm, as well as 2 new characters. Why you got nigga lips? They're named Goma and Degas. They're watching the events of the Majin Boo Arc, and therein lies the problem. This scene is an extended clip show recapping the Majin Boo Arc, and it goes on for way too long. The episode is 32 minutes long, much longer than a typical Dragon Ball episode, and the first 10 minutes is spent purely on recap. It's basically a glorified YouTube reaction video of the Cliff Notes version of the Majin Boo Arc. It goes over many plot points of the Boo Arc, such as the Dragon Team seeing Babidi and Dabra for the first time, Majin Vegeta committing mass murder at the Tenkaichi Budokai, Goku and Vegeta's rematch, Majin Boo's revival, Boo turning Dabra into a cookie and eating him, Piccolo confronting Babidi, Vegeta's failed attempt to kill Boo, Yamcha summoning Shenlong to revive those Vegeta killed, Boo killing Babidi, Majin Boo's transformation, Boo vs. Gotenks, Boo vs. Ultimate Gohan, and Goku defeating Boo with a Genki Dama. Really? Really?
Bitch, are you for real?
Did we really need to recap all of that? No. No, we did not. This is the first episode of a brand new series telling a new story for Dragon Ball, but we spend a third of the episode on stories we've seen before. There was so much Boo Arc recap, I was expecting the narrators to say, "Last time on Dragon Ball Z." The pacing of this episode is god-awful. The Boo Arc recap is entirely reanimated and looks good, so they're not doing what Dragon Ball Super did by using Dragon Ball Z footage whenever they have a flashback to the events of that series, which is nice, but it isn't worth it if it comes at the detriment of the pacing. It's a shame the first 10 minutes were such a waste of time, because there is otherwise some interesting things going on in this episode. Degis is the brother of Sheen, and Goma is the new king of the Demon Realm due to Dabra's death. Although, unlike Dabra, who is powerful and physically imposing, Goma is more like Pilaf, a pathetic little weasel with grand delusions of power. Every time I hear Goma, I can't help but think of Queen Goma from Ocarina of Time. Anyway, they're happy to see Babidi and Boo have been defeated, which means there's no one left to stand in their way. Then we're introduced to Dr. Arin's.
My ding-a-ling, my ding-a-ling, I want you to play with my ding-a-ling.
This act is over.
She's the older sister of Degis, so she's also Kaioshin's sister. She also watched the footage of the Boo Arc unbeknownst to Goma and Degis. Arins is a scientist funded by Dabra, but since Dabra's dead and Goma has taken his place, he probably won't fund her research anymore. Then, before leaving, she puts the idea in his head that the people who defeated Boo may pose a problem for them, especially if they come to the Demon Realm. This really gets to Goma despite Degis telling him to not take her seriously, and he decides to use the Dragon Balls to turn people involved with Boo's defeat and their friends and the children to render them powerless. Arins was eavesdropping here as well, and even gives them the Ojo-sama laugh before leaving again. Did I mention this woman's hot as fuck? Goma also wants to use the Dragon Balls to obtain some evil third eye known as the Tertian Oculus. It's something that grants great power to whoever places it on their forehead, but it was lost during the reign of Dabra's father, Abra. Of course, that's Dabra's father's name, keeping up with the name puns based on abracadabra. I wonder if there's an Alakazam. Anyway, we learn a lot of the Demon Realm in this episode, as it consists of 3 worlds that exist outside of the 12 universes. According to Goma, having pointy ears like the Hylians from The Legend of Zelda is a signature of those from the Demon Realm, and those with rounded ears are not from there. Kaioshin's race, the Shinjin, or at least that's what they were called up to this point, originate from there as they have pointy ears. This also means Namekians, or Namecs according to Daima's subtitles, originate from there as well, especially since Goma and Degis were surprised to see Namecs exist on Earth. In Japanese, Namekians are called Namekuseijin, meaning people of planet Namek, but they're simply being called Namekjin here. That means planet Namek is not the original Namekian homeworld, and the Namecs migrated to there for whatever reason, similar to how the original Saiyan home planet was destroyed, and the Saiyans moved to Planet Plant and renamed it Planet Vegeta. That also means Piccolo was a demon before he was a Mazoku, or demon clansman. In the Funimation dub, the concept of Mazoku is something they never got the point across, which resulted in dub fans insisting Piccolo was an alien who mistakenly thought he was a demon, as if being an alien and being a demon is mutually exclusive, which is a bunch of baloney. There's even a plot point on how those killed by Mazoku don't pass on to the afterlife, which was the case for Kuririn, Kame-Sennin, and Chaozu, but since Goku and Raditz were able to pass on, that means Piccolo's Mazoku status had faded away as a result of his attitude change and questioning his own fate. But here, they're really doubling down on Piccolo being a demon by stating all Nameks are demons. So even if Piccolo is no longer Mazoku, that doesn't mean he's not demonic. I guess that's Toriyama's way of saying, yes, Piccolo's a demon, so shut up. The Demon Realm also have their own Dragon Balls, which come in a set of 3, and these are applied to be the original Dragon Balls. So the very idea of the planet-sized Super Dragon Balls created by the dragon god Zalama is chucked out of the window, calling Dragon Ball Super status as canon into question. These Demon Realm Dragon Balls were created by a Namek named However, he also created 3 powerful automatons called the Tamagami to guard them. Tamagami literally means ball gods. No, not those kind of balls. Because of the Tamagami, making a wish with the Demon Realm's Dragon Balls is a tall order, so they decided to use the Earth's Dragon Balls instead. They recruit Neva to go with them, but he's old and decrepit, and there's a funny gag where he takes forever to walk over to the spaceship they're using. He also stinks too, as it's been years since he's taken a bath, but apparently he always brushes his teeth, or what little teeth he has left. To travel outside the Demon Realm, they have to go inside of a giant fish who teleports them to other worlds. They are going to Universe 7, but the fish within the fish asks what number, and they choose number 3 as it's closest to Earth. I've heard other YouTubers misinterpret this as Universe 3 being close to Universe 7, but number 3 isn't referring to Universe 3, it just refers to the closest warp point to Earth. The fish tell them number 3 has been popular lately. Goma thinks the fish is referring to Babidi and Dabra, but the fish tells them Dr. Adins went after they did, so she's got some sort of agenda, plus she was the one who manipulated him into deciding to use the Earth's Dragon Balls in the first place. She's scheming something, but we don't see her again for the rest of the episode. Anyway, the fish gets impatient, and Goma's group makes their way to Universe 7. Speaking of Universe 7, I have not talked about the Dragon Team outside of the Boo Arc recap. That's because this episode mostly focuses on the antagonists in the Demon Realm, and we don't see Goku and company until 20 minutes into the episode. I normally wouldn't mind giving the villains more focus, but so much of that focus was wasted on recapping old stories and getting their reaction. So it's awkward to just now be seeing what the Dragon Team are up to so late in the episode. So what are they up to? How do they contribute to the plot of this episode? They don't. Nothing important is going on here. They're at Capsule Corporation throwing a party as usual. Pretty much every arc of Dragon Ball Super ends with them eating barbecue at Capsule Corporation, and this is the note Daima starts on. Same old, insert obligatory, are you gonna do them out? Joke here. You're welcome. This is Trunks' birthday party, and he is 9 years old. He was 8 in the Boo Arc, so this is about a year after those events, meaning Daima takes place in age 775, 3 years before the events of Battle of Gods. Kuririn notes that Trunks is short for a 9-year-old, and Goku mentions that Saiyans get a growth spurt at 15 years old. No, wrong! Pure-blooded Saiyans get a growth spurt at 15. This does not apply to Saiyan Earthling hybrids. What Goku said can be so easily debunked by looking at Gohan's growth throughout the series, as well as future Trunks as a 13-year-old in Trunks the Story. Why do they keep getting this wrong? Even Superhero got this wrong. Why can't modern Dragon Ball get this right? This really grinds my gears. Shin and Kibito are here too, and Goku is surprised to see them split apart again after fusing with Potara. They explained since Goku and Vegeta managed to defuse when within Majin Buu's body, they decided to try it as well, and it worked. Goku's explanation for how the bad air within Buu's body was probably the cause of them defusing was just speculation on Goku's part, and many fans weren't satisfied with that explanation, but I was always fine with it. Weirder things have happened with Majin Buu. But Super comes along and has a near identical conversation to the one in Daima, except Shin and Kibito use the Dragon Balls to defuse. Later, when they brought back Vegito, Gowas explained that the Potaras are only permanent for gods. It only lasts an hour for mortals. So when Vegito originally defused inside Buu's body, the moment he dropped the force field after being absorbed was the exact moment an hour passed by, which I've long since explained was bullshit. But Daima is doubling down with the bad air explanation, as it's confirmed Majin Buu's body produces a gas that disrupts fusion. If only I could use a time machine to talk to my younger self when I made this video on the Potara retcon being a mistake to tell myself I was right all along. So to all the super dick writers who insisted otherwise, nanny nanny boo boo, stick your head in doo doo. So yet again, the idea that Super is canon is called into question, as Daima is already proving to be incompatible with Super, thus overriding it in the canon. Although Super never could be canon anyway. Daima has enough sense to not take place during the 5-year time period Bluma stated she hasn't seen Goku. Then Kuriri notes how Goku asked Shenlong to make Majin Buu into a good guy and let him stay on Earth. What the fuck are you talking about? The fat form of Majin Buu already proved to be a good guy on his own. He only did bad things because his creator Bibbidi taught him to, and he didn't know any better. He didn't understand he was doing something wrong until Mr. Satan explained it to him. Buu became a good guy thanks to his friendship with Mr. Satan. Using a wish to make him good takes away all the agency of Buu as a character. Way to step on the Boo Arc's toes. Shin also notices Gohan isn't here, and Goku says he's been distant lately, likely studying. But Videl isn't here either. She's likely with Gohan, so are they studying, or are they doing other things? But just so you know, don't expect to see either of them in Daima. Gohan only appears in this group shot during the intro, and Videl is left out of it entirely. What did the scouters say about the disrespect level?
It's over 9,000!
Then after Goku finishes eating, he and Vegeta have a sparring match, and that's about as exciting to me as watching paint dry. I don't care how well animated it is, I have no interest in seeing these two muscleheads fight each other anymore, as it contributes nothing to this episode's plot. Really, nothing involving the Dragon Team contributed anything. Nothing spoken has any relevance to the story. It's just info dump after info dump. This isn't storytelling as much as it's a bunch of nerd trivia for guidebook information, and certain information is straight up wrong. It took 20 minutes to see the Dragon Team, and we only spent 4 minutes with them before returning to the villains, and their presence was about as useless as tits on a nun. Anyway, Dende and Mr. Popo are observing the party from the heavenly realm until Goma, Degus, and Neva arrive. Neva is happy to see Dende, as he hasn't seen another Namek in thousands of years. Degus even tells Dende that since he has pointy ears, he is from the demon realm. So does that mean Mr. Popo comes from the demon realm? He has pointy ears too. Goma tells Dende they're here for the Dragon Balls, but Dende refuses. However, Goma has Neva gather them in exchange of extending Neva's life by another 1,000 years. Despite the Dragon Balls being stone at this point, he is able to sense them and makes them all fly to the heavenly realm, plus he is able to reactivate them ahead of schedule. Although Kami has had moments of doing that too. As they're about to summon Shenlong, Dende tries to stop them, but Degus drops him like a bitch. Dende, you're a more useless god than Aqua from Konosuba. Shenlong is summoned, and Goma wishes for the group involved with Boo's defeat to be turned into kids. But Shenlong's being pedantic, asking how old specifically, and what to do for those who are already kids. Goma says turn them into first graders, and for those who are already kids, turn them into babies. It's a funny gag, but Shenlong doesn't usually ask for details like this. He usually just interprets their wish. But he does it, and the dragon team starts transforming into children, and then the episode ends. What? That's it? That's how it ends? Them going through the process of turning into kids is treated as the end of episode cliffhanger? So we won't actually see them all as kids and their reactions to it until episode 2. Despite being much longer than your average episode of Dragon Ball, not much actually happens here. The first third is wasted on recapping a past story arc, and the last third is wasted on 4 minutes worth of pointless nerd trivia for fan wikis, and it ends on a cliffhanger of something that is no surprise to anyone watching. The second third, as well as the last 6 minutes, does the most for progressing the story, so that means only 16 minutes of this episode matters. This is similar to Dragon Ball Z's first episode wasting so much time on filler of Gohan in the wilderness when only the Raditz material matters. Although this isn't as bad as Super's first episode being absolutely pointless in doing nothing to get the ball rolling for its story. But it sucks we don't even see them all as kids in this first episode. GT wasted no time turning Goku into a kid, as he's turned into one early in the episode as opposed to using it as a cliffhanger. It does something far more significant as a cliffhanger, such as the reveal that the Black Star Dragon Balls need to be returned to Earth within a year or the planet will explode. That is how you do a cliffhanger. This is not. Unfortunately, this episode wasn't much to write home about. So much of it is wasted on lore dumps and recap, which ruins its pacing. This episode could have been cut down significantly since it doesn't take advantage of being 32 minutes long. There isn't an opening credits sequence, but they do have end credits. If you cut the fat out of this episode, there are some cool things in it, but there needed to be more time to really get the story going. Here's hoping episode 2 will improve in that regard. So what do you guys think of the first episode of Dragon Ball DAIMA? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. Also like and subscribe for more content. That'll be the end of this video. Have a good day everyone. This is Trace signing out.